Hey everyone, welcome back to Firsthand Globetrotting. In my life, I've been lucky enough to travel a lot. Been on hundreds of flights, spent thousands of hours in airports and planes, so you know there's bound to have been some bad travel days mixed in with all the really good ones. I've had huge delays, missed connections, lost baggage, broken seats, you name it, I've had it. These are just the sort of things that happen to you when you travel enough. But today, I'm going to tell you about my all-time worst travel nightmare, one that sticks out way above the rest. The time I went to Freetown, Sierra Leone. This was way back in 2004, so I don't have any videos from the trip, but I have some pictures, and hopefully that'll be good enough while I tell you my story. First off, I want to be very clear. Sierra Leone was awesome. My time there was incredible, and I'm so glad I went. I can't complain about that at all. But getting there was an absolute disaster. So here's my story. As I said, this was 2004. The Civil War had just ended there in 2002, so needless to say, it really wasn't a tourist hotspot at the time. Even now, not too many people visit Sierra Leone, and even fewer did back then, so I was really excited I was going to get a chance to visit. But very few tourists also means there's going to be very few flight options, right? So almost no major airlines flew to Freetown. I was leaving from Ottawa, Canada, not a major international hub, so definitely no direct flights, but there weren't even any connecting flights that I could take. My only option was to buy two separate tickets, one on US Airways going from Ottawa to London's Gatwick Airport with a connection through Philadelphia, an easy first step. The second ticket was a flight from Gatwick to Freetown on US Airlines. The whole trip wasn't ideal, but not too bad really. I had an 8-hour layover in Gatwick just to be safe. Plenty of time, right? No. This trip started falling apart pretty quickly for me. As soon as I got to the airport in Ottawa, the US Airways agent told me the flight to Philly was delayed and I'd missed my connection to Gatwick. And to make things even worse, they didn't have any other options to get me to Gatwick. Lots of bad news already, and I hadn't even boarded my first plane. But the US Airways agent told me they had a great solution for me. Okay, alright, a ray of hope, I was all ears. Maybe this wouldn't be so bad after all. They offered to get me a ticket with Air Canada that would get me to London's Heathrow Airport, connecting through Montreal. I wouldn't be in Gatwick, but at least I'd be in London at around the same time as my original flight was supposed to get there. And once I landed in Heathrow, I just needed to go to the US Airways desk and they'd give me transportation to Gatwick with plenty of time to spare. Okay, so this wasn't sounding too bad at all. One extra drive between the London airports, but it wouldn't cut too much into my layover time. US Airways had it all figured out, so I grabbed my new boarding passes and headed for the gate. Fast forward a bit, I'm in my seat for the flight to Montreal when the pilot comes over the speaker and tells us there's a mechanical problem, the flight is cancelled. So off the plane and back to the ticket desk I go. After a while, I'm booked on a direct flight from Ottawa to Heathrow. I've lost a few hours, but at least I'm on my way to London. Bad, but not too bad. Fast forward again, I'm on the plane to Heathrow, we've been flying for a few hours, and it's only about 30 minutes until we touch down in London. Everything's going really smoothly so far. But then, another announcement. There's a medical emergency on the plane. We land, paramedics rush on board to help out the passenger. I'm glad they got the help they needed, but unfortunately that's more valuable connection time I'm burning. As soon as I can, I hustle off the plane, go through customs, get my bag, and start looking for the US Airways desk. They'll be able to get me over to Gatwick in no time, just like they promised. Well, guess what? Remember when the US Airways agent in Ottawa told me they'd have transportation for me to Gatwick? It turns out US Airways doesn't even fly out of Heathrow, so of course there was no desk or even any staff at the airport. You gotta be kidding me at this point. So now I'm starting to worry. This whole thing was relying on US Airways getting me to where they promised. But since US Airways left me stranded at the wrong airport, I headed over to catch one of the Heathrow to Gatwick express buses. They usually leave every 15 to 20 minutes, but was I having any luck on that day? Nope, none at all. It was a little over an hour until the next one came. Mix in some London traffic and I got to Gatwick 10 minutes after my flight to Freetown left. The one bright side was that US Airlines was really easy to deal with and they booked me on the next flight to Freetown. But of course, there was one last cherry on top. The flight to Freetown only ran twice a week. and since I missed my Sunday flight, I'd have to wait until Wednesday. So I got a few days to hang out in London, but in the end, I finally made it to Sierra Leone, and like I said before, I had a great time in Freetown. In the end, you'd think that US Airways would have apologized and maybe paid for some of my expenses, right? I mean, they never even got me to the airport that I paid them to get me to. Nope, nothing. They didn't even admit their mistake or reimburse the cost of the bus from Heathrow to Gatwick. Nothing, not a thing. Well, I guess I got the last laugh since US Airways is long gone now, taken over by American Airlines. And now that I think about it, a lot of my major travel headaches have been with US Airways or American Airlines, but those are stories for some other time. The main lesson I learned from all of this is that if an airline promises you something, get it in writing and make sure it's not too good to be true. The whole experience was a disaster, but at least now I can sit back and laugh about it. So thanks for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed this video and you're able to laugh along with me at how bad my trip went. How does it compare to your biggest travel horror story? Let me know in the comments, and while you're at it, make sure to subscribe, like the video, and share it with your friends. On Twitter, I'm Firsthand Globe. On Instagram, I'm Firsthand Globetrotting. Follow me on there to see where I'm headed next. And don't forget, it's an incredible world out there, so pick up your passport and do some firsthand globetrotting of your own.